Hello, good morning. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us once more. Welcome back to the Oxford International Short Film Festival. Thank you very much for joining for our fabulous block this morning, which is entitled Year of the Sea. We've got 5 films this morning, 5 short films, which will run for about 62 minutes. And what is in store? Well, it's all tied together with the fabulous theme of the sea. So we've got everything from conquering the highest waves, this space for a coming of age narrative. We've got a doomed love story and everything in between, with some beautiful cinematic moments thrown in there as well. Do join us at the end of the block. So the films will run for about 62 minutes, takes us for about an hour, and then we'll come back in and we'll have a little Q&A with some of our filmmakers of some of these shorts, which who fabulously have been able to join us, which is really exciting. So we're going to have about half an hour or so of questions at the end, and if you have any, please do chuck them in the comments on YouTube, on Facebook, however you are tuning in to us. Do let us know your questions for the filmmakers and we'll put them to them. And without further ado, I think that's everything. Let's roll. This is Year of the Sea.
Well, Nazaret's the wave. It's Praia Norte. It's very special. It's pretty famous because it's really big. You feel the power of the wave. It's something like it's addictive.
After this place here and you surf here so many years, I traveled to many surf spots, different spots, and I never felt what I feel here.
This is a particular place for sure in all the world, and this is where the biggest wave is. So you can feel this energy. Even the people who are around, they are here to surf the biggest wave, so you can feel all this energy.
The people around and all the magic that this wave has, it's pretty unique.
The speed and the mass, it's for what I've experienced, I've never felt that elsewhere.
I've been on jet skis since ever. My dad was never afraid to give us a bike to ride, and like the jet ski, it was about the same. We went the weekends to spend all day in the water. Wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, fill my ski, go out, ride all the way to the lake, and come back, have breakfast, and keep riding.
When I was able to afford my first surfboard, completely changed my life, because I was a professional swimmer, like competition, and then I said the day that I start to surf, I will not swim anymore on a swimming pool, because it was really boring. The surf feeling, even if it's like 1 foot wave or like 100 feet wave, I got that that joy of a kid, you know, that's what inspires me and what makes me like being so passionate about surf, because I feel like a child, you know, like a kid. Everything disappears and it's just that little world. So that's what it happened, you know, just like left swimming behind, started surfing, and since that day I never stopped.
One of my best friends as a kid, his older brother had a surfboard, and we were never allowed to touch it, but we would always see it. We were like the two younger kids. He's the older, cooler brother. And the first time I actually surfed, me and my friend went in and sneaked his board and just went and surfed.
Surfing for me was more a total different sport. It was like freedom, like no rules, like just the feeling and just sharing it with other people, the connection with the nature, and all of this was the main thing about surfing. The thing that I love about big wave surfing, this is a sharing sport as well. I feel like it's a different sport, and at Nazaré we are two surfing, we are two doing the sport, and we have to have a good relationship, to have a good connection. And at Nazaré it's really particular. The rescue is super hard. He do it well, he's good.
Like for me, the most important is after the wave. It's not really that wave. Like I don't care if I don't really put her on the best position to make herself the biggest or the best the wave. But if I rescue her good after the wave, for me the most important. And I think with the training and coming here to Nazaré and learning the place and the waves, we will be able to improve that and put her on better and biggest wave. But I really want to get her after every wave. Like that's what I'm really focused on for the moment, more than the waves where I put her. Whatever gonna happen, I want to rescue her after.
Well, everyone will tell you that I go so high, and I have like some of the tricks that I do. It's the only one who does it. It's me. It's every rider has their own style. I try to do different things always, not do the same thing. It's something that I really love, and that connection with the ocean. It's not something that I only feel it when I'm riding. I need to be close to the ocean. Like I know if I don't ride, I'm gonna get grumpy. So it's like part of me.
Training for big wave surfing is super important because the injury can happen fast because the wave is so powerful. I need all my body really strong, so I work on a lot of stuff that is unstable. I put 100% chance on my body, on my side to surf a big wave.
I really like wild conditions, you know, that's challenging conditions, wild conditions. That's, you know, like everybody sometimes say, no, we're not, that's like too dangerous to be like, let's go, man. That's the thing, you know, like watching 100 guys going to one side and you try to go to the other, you know. In the end, if you don't try the impossible, you never know if it can make it possible. So it's like, it shows my personality in a way that maybe I don't even know myself yet. I'm just learning and trying to figure out who I am, you know, like.
it's so massive. It has a big presence when it comes towards you. You're seeing this thing coming, and you're just thinking, or your mind's telling you, get out of the way, get out of the way, get out of the way. And the whole reason you're there is to be in the way of it and catch it. The wave is traveling the same speed it would be traveling in deep ocean because it's coming out of that deep water canyon. That energy has nowhere else to go but up. And that's the main phenomenon that happens here, why the waves are so big.
Like when you're coming down riding the wave, you cannot see what's happening like on the back. You can imagine that the wave is right there, it's breaking, it's chasing you. And you have to get out, run from it.
If you got like stuck in those rocks, like you are dead, you know, like it's really like a place to avoid. Even for the jet skis, for the machines, it's really hard. You know, it's a place that you just got like one chance to pick up your friend, otherwise like everything can be like ruined.
When you're on the wave or when you're falling and underneath the water, there's no one who's there with you, and it's impossible for somebody to be there with you. And you're aware of that.
I've seen people died and I've saved people's life, so I kind of know the feeling. And you have to train for something, and you have to trust when you are in a situation. You have to trust what you can do, but you have to be aware of what you can and what you cannot do.
The ski is super heavy, it's metal, and if a ski lands on you, you can be dead. No one wants to die. Everyone wants to keep safe and keep riding. Doing that, or being in that situation that it's really dangerous, it's when you feel more alive.
Most part of the time, sometimes you are flying, you are not even touching the water. When you are in the air, it's just like, you know that if I don't land properly of these, I'm gonna die, or I'm gonna really have a bad moment. So it's like almost like animal instinct.
I love it. The risk is there. Is it, do I go in the water, or the risk is do I?
And you can feel the water coming, and the sound, like it's going to eat you. That feeling, that drive, that adrenaline, that rush, it's a spark that keep me continue doing it. And a little bit selfish, we are a little bit selfish.
I got such a spiritual connection with everything, and if I got to take videos or to stay or die there, I want to have like, I'm here because I love it, and I couldn't be in a better place, you know.
You are connected with the wave, connected with the ocean, with the nature, with the power of the water, and such a unique experience. The wave built like so far away in the ocean and finish our life on the beach, and you have the luck to share this little moment with the wave before our death.
If I stop surfing with my body, I will keep surfing with my mind.
Martín,
¿Qué querés?
¿puedo jugar con ustedes? ¿Puedo jugar con ustedes?
No,
Porfa.
no.
Cami, ¿qué estás mirando?
¿Qué haces? Salí de acá.
Mamá. Mamá. Mamá.
¿Qué, mi amor?
Estoy aburrida.
¿Cómo vas a estar aburrida en un lugar así? Anda a jugar con tus hermanos.
Ya le dije, no quieren jugar conmigo.
Anda a decirle a tus hermanos que dije yo que jueguen conmigo. Anda. ¿Qué, mi amor?
Ma, dame plata.
No tengo, mi vida.
Dale, mami, porfi.
No tengo.
Dale, porfi, mami, dame plata.
No tengo, corazón, no.
Dale, mami, porfi, porfi, porfi. Porfi, mami, porfi, 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 porfi.
Con mucho queso.
¿La puedo tocar?
Es una nena. Sí, dale, tocala. No te va a hacer nada.
¡Hey! ¡Hey! ¡Mi mochila! ¡Chorro! ¡Chorro!
¡Sé algo, Capo! ¡Sé algo! ¡Ay, la mochila! ¡Dale, alguien haga algo! ¡Que alguien los corra! ¡Qué manga de chorizo!
Ese es amigo de ustedes, ¿no?
No. Amigo mío no es.
¿Qué no? Si andan todos juntos ustedes.
Sí, una cosa de loco.
Yo me voy a buscar a la policía.
Agarrarlo entre todos y vamos a fajarlo.
Váyanse, váyanse.
Andá, amigo, te van a dar palo, andá.
Vayan a
Mirá
laburar.
acá, mirá acá.
Delincuentes.
Sáquenme la plana, no pueden. Bueno, ya no podemos salir a ningún lado. ¿Qué nos da para que pase esto acá? No da.
compañeros dónde están? ¿Qué desapareció? No se tiró, se cayó. ¿Quién es?
Es el padre de la chiquita de ahí.
Lo está chupando la cola. No puede avanzar, qué terrible.
¿Viste que se ahogó alguien?
¿Quién se ahogó?
No sé, un padre tenía una nena.
¿Qué pasó con una nena?
¿Viste lo que pasó? Se ahogó una nena.
Sí, pero allá me dijeron que se ahogó una nena. ¿Dónde están los padres?
Me dice acá la Lira que se
Era muy chiquita.
una nena. Yo se iba sola, luego con mi padre. Era esa rubiecita que estaba jugando con el baldecito en la orilla. Mabel. Mabel. ¿Qué? ¿Qué pasó?
Ay, no sabéis lo que pasó, ¿no te enteraste de lo que pasó allá?
No,
Allá en la otra punta de la playa.
no me enteré ni nada.
Parece que se ahogó una guainita. No, tremendo.
Yo acá la otra vez también vi un nene de 12, 13 años que se ahogó y los guardavidas, la verdad.
¿Estaba solo? ¿Estaba solito?
La familia estaba allá abajo de los árboles, pero se ve que lo perdieron de vista. El nene entró y se ahogó, los que estaban cerca gritaban, pero para cuando aparecieron en la cara tenía descanso.
Bueno, lo mismo le pasó a la nenita. Lo mismo, estaba solito.
Siempre se ahoga alguien, ¿eh?
Καλημέρα, Λεωνίδα μου. Πάλι δεν μπορούσα να κοιμηθώ, γε μου. Πήγαινε σπίτι και μια μέρα να με βοηθήσεις λίγο. Άλλη φορά. Άλλη φορά, έτσι λες πάντα. Εμένα ποιος θα με βοηθήσει σήμερα στο σπίτι. Ξέρω. Άντε, καλά. Πήγαινε και να προσέχεις. Πάντα. Καλημέρα, κύριε Χριστό.
Ω, Λεωνίδα μου, καλημέρα. Κάθε πρωί και πιο πρωινό για ψάρεμα βλέπω.
Asta sono buone così, ma dove sei finita di me? Te lo fa?
Aman, regiunul de mițime de calami. Da, ce de ne face cornul?
Δεν φτάφωνα μου και ψάρεω λίγο,
Καλά, φotografia am trimis în avola.
Με λάστι είχαμε τίποτα.
Τι να κάνω. Θες να το πιάω, να βοηθήσω. Το μέσα να το κάνω το ψάρι. Τράβηγνε το πάνω προς το θέμα. Μασερούι, για να το καρφώσω.
Μόνο με τα θηρίο.
Δευτέρα. Δεν βρίσκεται έτσι ψάρι.
Δεν λέει εύκολα πιένε αστάκι. Και δεν λέει εντάξει, άψω μια κουκκιά να το βάλαμε, να το βάλουμε πάνω, αν και κουκκιά. Θέλεις να ψάξουμε μια κουκκιά να το βάλαμε όλοι μαζί, να το ψήσουμε, να έχουμε και σχάρα πάνω. Και να το ψήσουμε να διορτάσουμε με βγάλαμε έτσι ψάρι.
Μα τι γίνεται, μα νομίζω ξέρω την νομίτσιδε. Ναι ρε, ξέρουμε το ρε, είναι ο αρφός του Σταυρού του Νικολάου ρε. Γεια σου, είσαι ο αδερφός του Σταυρού.
Εν τούτος ρε. Εν τούτος είναι τα chance ρε. Έλα, βάστα το. Βάστα μας το.
Ρε, εγώ νομίζω απλώς να πείσω το μισή να ψήσουμε όλοι μαζί, ρε. Έτσι αλλιώς θα το ευκάλε να βοηθήσεις.
Γιατί εσείς δεν μπορείτε να αρκιάτε ψάρι, μην βρείτε ευκαιρία τώρα που
Το
δεν
παρέας
πιάνετε
μπορεί να
εσείς.
δάμε κάθε μέρα, κάνουμε δύο πράγματα και αν δεν πιάνε ποτέ τίποτα σπουδαία. Αν μεν έμπαιρνα εγώ μέσα, δεν θα είχε το ψάρι μες στα σέρ κάτω τώρα.
Μην ψυχές τα πράγματα σου, ρε!
Άιστε με! Έλα εσύ τώρα, αν το τράβαμε μέσα με ψήνιο που πιέτουν.
Ένα πνί.
Μα τι ψαρούκλανε πια σήμερα ρε βέντη μου.
Πολλά καλό είναι.
Πολλά καλό καλό. Να το ζυγίσουμε λίγο να δούμε.
Εντάξει, ράτε.
Μπράβο ρε Λεωνίδα, 2,5 κιλά το ψάρι σου.
Καλοστάρι σίγουρα είναι.
Όχι 100 ευρώ Λεωνίδα μου. Ναι εντάξει αξίζει κάτι παραπάνω που γύρα τα ψάρκα που μου έφερνες κάθε μέρα, αλλά όχι 100 ευρώ. Θα σου δώσω 20 ευρώ.
Μα όχι.
Α, 25. μπορώ να κάνω κάτι. Ήδη έχω μες στο ψυγείο ένα φορτίο, έφερα μου το πρωί τα ίδια ψάρκα, το συγκεκριμένο, ταλαιπωρημένο, χτυπημένο. Δεν μπορώ να σου δώσω κάτι παραπάνω. Θέλεις να σου το ετοιμάσω να πάεις δίπλα στον Αντώνη μου στην ταβέρνα, να το ρωτήσεις μήπως και θέλει έτσι ψάρκα. Αλλά και πάλι εκείνος τι να σου πει, τα ίδια πράγματα να σου πει, περίπου 25 ευρώ.
Εντάξει.
Θα σου το ετοιμάσω και... Αλλά και μπράβο σου, εγώ τον καιρό που ήμουν στη ηλικία σου ποτέ με καταφέρα να πιάσουμε έτσι ψάρι. Τη μαμά, προσέχουμε τη λίγο. Στο καλό.
Μοίρα μου ήρθες. Λύνε τα χέρια σου γρήγορα να φάμε και πάω δουλειά. Μα τι είναι αυτό που είναι?
Έκανα ψάρι τόσο και πουλήσα το.
Ευχαριστώ, Λεωνίδα μου. Σου είναι βέντη.
κάμερά σου.
Κάθε πρωί για ψάρεμα τον κόσμο έξω να κλείσω. Με το καλαμάκι μου το άγχος θα αποσβήσω. Με το καλαμάκι μου το άγχος θα αποσβήσω. Κάθε πρωί για ψάρεμα τον κόσμο έξω να κλείσω.
Does that make you want me?
Kind of.
I know it'd be dangerous,
Not
but
that. And just when we're both away, like, who's going to take it for walks? Pick up its poo.
I don't want you to go.
It's only a few months.
But you said it was 9 weeks.
Yeah, that is a few months.
No, that's 2 months and an additional week.
Oh my god.
What time will you get here?
I don't know. Why does it matter?
I'd like to know.
Just chill out.
I need to know exactly when I'm going to see you, okay? Show you that I want a tiny bit of certainty in my life.
Well, what? And I don't? I'm choosing to live like this, am I?
Yes, actually.
What are you doing?
I'm being helpful. Sorry.
It really hurts.
But lots of people make it work.
Do they?
There's a couple in my office and they've been together for 3 years, and he's based here and she's in Australia.
It's not the same.
What are we going to do for Christmas?
Well, you're not meeting my family,
We can spend it with mine.
but I'd have to get presents out of the long sock thing.
It's called a stocking.
I don't care what it's called. It makes me feel like a freak.
What do you get presents out of?
Nets.
Will you let me know how you are?
I'll message you.
See you soon, yeah?
Yeah. از مدرسه زنگ زدن. بابات قراره بره مدرسه. من چیزی نگفتم بهش. اگه بفهمه نمیری.
حاضری تک و تنها اینجا باشی ولی نیاری مدرسه. کم حواسو داشتم؟ این چه ریختیه؟ بازیت گرفته؟
برو بیرون.
بچه برید بیرون. با بقیه فرق ریختتون نمیفهم.
کمک!
حال شدی؟ نمیشه مثل آدم باید رفتار کرد؟ کجا؟ زندت رو میزنم.
دهنتو سرویس میکنم آبی!
ای شبیه مصطفی.
آقا میشه سریع‌تر بریم؟
چای؟
نه حرکت کنیم. آقا تو رو خدا این ماشین رو گمش کنی. تو رو خدا. ممنون. پیاده میشم. بفرمایید.
من مسافرکش نیستم. میخوای باهات بیام؟
نه خونم همینجاست.
Welcome back. Thank you very much. God, my goodness, that was a fabulous hour. I feel like I have been immersed in waters of wonder for a while. Thank you very much to our fabulous bunch of filmmakers who have joined us for a bit of a Q&A. So we, just to reiterate timings, we're on about 11:30 our time now, 25 to 12. So we should be wrapped up by about 12:15 at the latest. We are going to go through the films in the order that they were played. Just brief few words about a couple of them, and then for some we have the filmmakers here, so we should be able to dive into some good more in-depth discussions. If you have comments, do ping them over and let us know. So first of all we had the gorgeous Going Deeper. Oh my goodness, love letter to Nazare, I think is how you say it. I would like to get on a plane to Portugal right now. I thought that was an absolutely stunning film. The visuals are extraordinary, and I thought it was just so calming, so majestic, with this beautiful soundtrack running through it. And then the whole thing was actually very much a human story about sort of a spiritual connection in a way. And then it delivered with us wanting that adrenaline junkie moment towards the end, and it really cranked up and it took us with it on that rush. And yeah, I think that just amazing respect for those incredible people who think, yeah, sure, I'll go and ride that, no problem. Any thoughts on that first one, folks?
I just thought it was so refreshing to hear people who are so brave and bold with the sea also expressing their moments of fear towards it as well. Like that quote about it sounds like it's going to eat you, just thought was amazing and really interesting to see that other side to people who are so fearless, but obviously the kind of danger that comes with that is great.
Yeah, I think that the moments of vulnerability made that really different to what you usually associate with anything to do with sort of surfing, which is always often quite sort of macho or like adrenaline junkie style. But I think you're right. There was an honesty and a respect of this could go very wrong at any moment.
Yeah.
I think there was also that what I love in all docs about people who do things like they do, and also I've seen it in like motorsport documentaries. It's almost like that my passion overrides my fear, which I think came through across the whole piece, which is amazing because it is that kind of in your head, this could hurt or kill you, but you just can't not do it, which I absolutely, I thought that was amazing.
I had moments, it reminded me moments of my octopus teacher. I don't know if anyone's seen that recently, where it is like you say, this you're sort of just dancing with death, and yet your love, your passion rides through all of that. Absolutely brilliant. Loved it.
I was going to say a shout out as well to the camera crew behind that, because of course they're taking risks as well, and no one gets to appreciate them. So I just like to give a shout out to the camera people on that as well, because they're obviously risking equipment themselves just to capture those beautiful images. I mean, it was absolutely startling, wasn't it? So yeah, that's all I want to say on that.
Yeah, no,
crack on, Olivia.
Well said, Andy. You're quite right. You're quite right to point that out. I think, you often forget that there is someone on the other end of that lens, and who is there in that same situation as them. And yes, often underappreciated. The visuals are absolutely breathtaking. Really, really. Stunning in that. Loved it. From one set of visuals to a completely different aesthetic, but also stunning. The gorgeous La Playita, which was it's this beautiful little coming of age moment. It's all through this lens of a child. We really stay with her for so much, and it's got such innocence about it, and yet there's these kind of dark undertones that just creep in around the crime, the death, the thieving, and the gossip train, all of these little moments, and yet what a beautiful performance from her. I love that film.
Yeah, I mean, it really puts you in her position, doesn't it? The childlike wonder, but you're so scared for her because she's, you know, vulnerable to all these outside forces, and of course she has a childlike innocence about her. She doesn't really understand the world, and you can see that this is probably the start of her coming of ages. I don't think she's quite there because she still has a childlike wonder at the end. But yes, I think it's a fantastically beautiful little film, that one. I just love it.
I think it does something quite clever, just to jump on that, Andy. I think it does this thing where we as adults watch it and we have fear for her. But it's almost like a really, really strong metaphor for, like, I don't have children, but I have a lot of friends. I'm a lot of sort of children's Uncle Mike. And it's always us who are going, oh, don't climb that tree. Don't go over there. Don't touch that. And they just pass through the world with an innocence and a fearlessness and it's us who's doing the worrying for them. I thought the film did that really nicely. As an adult audience, we're going, oh, at what point is something going to go horribly wrong? And the child just is, you know, it's above them. They don't really understand.
Yeah, I completely agree with Michael as well. I think that was the same feeling that I got from it. It was that although we were watching it through these innocent eyes of the little girl, I was just waiting for something bad to happen almost, and all of these things going around her, all these obstacles in her way. I love that it was seen as no problem in a sense when she was diving for the money, for example. Especially in these certain moments, we watch it with a completely different perspective, and a film like this kind of reminds us that there are certain also communities that this is a big prevalent part of, and this is the childhood beach experience for a lot of people as well. I definitely related to this as well because Cyprus growing up was somewhat similar at the shore side. It's also a very small community. There's always people passing by and selling things, and I think showing it from her perspective, I think, was a really good thing to do. Yeah.
It's incredibly effective, and I think it just both of those films, in their way, deal with this idea of risk and fear, and in a way, is it our fear as adults? Do we lose that from a child? How can you continue to embrace it as just a natural part of life, and continue to see the wonder and see the you know, the innocence in everything and the possibility. I think there was such hope in this whole block, really, and we'll talk about that more later. But from one fabulous child performer to the next, oh my goodness, correct me if I'm saying it wrong. Is it Leonidas?
Leonidas, yes.
Leonidas and the Fish. I just love this film, Alex. It is so beautiful. Where did the idea come from? Where did it all begin? Why this story?
Well, I think it was a story that was kind of brewing for a while. I initially had it a little bit more complex. I kind of wanted to set it against a more kind of political turmoil backdrop in a sense, and kind of express a little bit more about Cyprus and the time in which the boy is living as well. But yeah, the pandemic happened, and I was kind of against the wall for what to do for my master's project. And I kind of wanted to push my boundaries a little bit. I was doing little kind of B horror films and some very, you know, kind of comedic things. So I basically orchestrated this and dumbed it down. Sorry for traffic noises, by the way. This is where the good Wi-Fi is. And basically, I had to dumb it down and really strip it to its basics to be able to just come to Cyprus and film it by myself with my friends. And yeah, I mean, the majority of the people acting in it were just my mates. Yeah, and so it really came out of a necessity to make something for my master's and pulling this idea out of like the bank in a sense. Yeah.
Gosh, that's amazing, because I was going to ask you about the casting, because the little boy, Nikitas, and he's absolutely fantastic. He negotiates. I mean, I think the moment that really gets me is that moment with the big boys, the injustice, where you can see what's about to happen and how they're about to take credit for it, or they're going to steal it, or it's all going to go wrong, and it's going to be awful. And he just says so much through silence. And I think that is the mark of a really great actor, when they can portray such a broad range of emotions without any dialogue at all. And he completely takes us with him into all these different places. That moment really, really gets me. So was he a friend, or how did you go about the casting there?
Again, we didn't really have too many options. It was a very, very small crew, and we had about €1,000 to spend, so we couldn't really go for any top actors or anything like this. And so we went to a dance school, and we got the first kid who seemed extremely excited to do it, and as well his mom, because his mom within the bubble. We had to get a mom who was his actual mom. I wanted there to be an authentic kind of relationship between them, and I also wanted for ease's sake to be socially in a bubble, especially if they're going to hug and stuff. And so I think we were just lucky. I think we were just very lucky. I think Nikitas was a fantastic kid. He had a passion for filmmaking. He was very interested in the character, and I think the trick as well was just to film a whole lot. We filmed a whole lot and figured out a lot of things in the edit. We did some little reshoots as well, specifically for that moment that you talked about, because it was really important to get his face saying the right thing without any of the dialogue. And especially on the day, it was boiling hot on this beach. It was almost 40 degrees, I think. Everyone was sweating. I was in the water with the camera, things didn't go perfectly smoothly the whole time. So we just got very lucky, I think. He actually even won an award for it.
I think you're being modest as well, because that's also outstanding direction there in terms of how to direct performance and how to make that work. And I think this is probably something that a lot of filmmakers are dealing with right now, in that COVID does provide certain restrictions in terms of casting and bubbles and so on. And so if you're having to cast an actual couple or an actual mother family, often they're not all actors. You've got to deal with it. You've got to work with it, and that's on you as a director. So props to you. I think it's beautifully done, and that really comes together very, very well. You hinted there at some things not going brilliantly. What were some of the challenges throughout the process of filming?
Well, I think it all started with not only the pandemic issues and stuff like that, and not really acquiring too much of a budget, and also coming to Cyprus to do this. I almost abandoned all my connections at the Masters in London, who could potentially help me. So I talked with the cinematographer here, someone around my age, also a student, he almost tried to hold film hostage, in a sense that he wanted a lot of money and things like that, and I had to film it last minute. We had problems acquiring equipment and stuff like that, but also my friends, I relied on them too heavily for kind of ad-lib, and it caused a little bit of issues in the editing process. But I think generally my main issue was just we didn't have the technical apparatus that we needed, in a sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very common story, particularly when you're starting out, and incredible that this is a student film, because it is so accomplished, and it hangs together so well. And you basically did everything pretty much, writer, director, editor, this, producer, everything. So amazing that you handled all of that in the time of COVID as well. Just in terms of style and in terms of the aesthetic of the film. I think one thing that I love about it is how much stillness there is, particularly for the first half of the film. You keep everything really quite static, and so it's the sea and the action and the characters and the fish and the movement and the action itself, as well as the water, that gives us this quite soothing movement that provides the movement. What was your decision making along the way in how you were going to be using these shots and using your style as a filmmaker to support the story?
I think in general I was inspired by a lot of older films and a lot of Middle Eastern films as well. And I think that there is a distinction visually between watching a lot of those films and this kind of tripod static shot or a slow pan that give a certain essence, an almost nostalgic essence. And I think that one of the points that I wanted for this film was this was my almost love letter to a childhood in Cyprus as well, where I never kind of ventured into that theme before. And I think I had to use the specific visual language that of all the films that really I loved and inspired this in a sense. And so I made a whole list of them, and I made everyone on the crew watch them, and everyone had to feel imbued with this essence in a sense. But I think generally as well, it started off with this calmness so that you could focus on the shots and focus what's in it. Ask yourself what's going on, where are they, what time of day is this a normal thing for the boy? I felt like if I started a little bit too intensely with the boy just catching a fish all of a sudden, I don't think we would understand quite the habit, the character of this boy, where he comes from at least, and yeah.
And I think that's also not fishing, is it? I think you beautifully build the experience of fishing in a way of let's just wait, let's just give it time. Let's just see where we go with this. It's really, really beautiful. Any in particular films that you're referencing about those ones that were really influenced there? What should we check out?
I mean, I actually watched Billy Elliot again recently, and I absolutely loved it again. But I think there are films like Willow in the Wind, the boy with the balloon, the red balloon. Also the girl with the white balloon. I'm kind of just forgetting right now. I'm going a little bit blank. But things like Patri Panchali, which were all films that showed me a childhood in a specific place that I connected with, even though it was a completely different time, a completely different culture, and even the whole time I might not understand what the kid is thinking, but it didn't really matter to me. So this is kind of what I wanted to represent to people who had no idea about this culture, in a sense. Yeah.
And another question, which I know Andy will probably be wanting to ask as well, the music, the soundtrack of it is so beautiful, so delicate, and yet so sympathetically charts the tension of the film. Where did that come from? Was that you had a composer on board, I think, and I mean, it's just stunning. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. That's something we spend probably the most time on from the very beginning. My friend Zinona, who is one of the buff guys at the beach, he's the one who's like closest to the camera, who's trying to convince the guy who helped catch the fish that they should cook it. He was the composer, and he's a good friend of mine, and we sat for a few months and kind of mixed a lot of traditional music and traditional pieces with kind of original score. He wrote some lyrics for the last one as well, and it was really a fine balance, especially the fish catching scene. We went through many different ideas for musical pieces, in a sense, and I don't think I was ever quite happy with it, but I would be surprised if I was. say.
Yeah, I think that's just the plight of being a creative, isn't it? But I mean, you should be. It's absolutely stunning. What an achievement from him as well. It's really, really gorgeous. Let me open it up. Any questions from the rest of our fabulous bunch today for Alex?
Yeah. First of all, congratulations. It was so wonderful to watch and so engaging. Like every step of the way, I was totally there with the central character. It was brilliant. I was really interested in the scene with the mum and the radio. I loved that moment with when the crackliness of the radio sort of filtered in, and I just wondered if you could talk a little bit more about that moment or some of the ideas behind it.
I'm glad you bring this up, actually. I think this was probably the most misunderstood moment as well, showing it to different people and stuff. Yeah, this film is always, I'm glad that I made it, that it's this kind of learning curve in a sense, because this was supposed to represent the moment in which he comes home and gets this fulfillment, in a sense, from fishing. Something that his mom didn't exactly believe in, and she has her own kind of issues, and she says in the morning that she can't sleep, and we kind of see a hint of like this broken fan and stuff like that. But him coming home really fulfills his passion in her eyes, and the fact that she tells him you're Levendis, and I didn't translate that word because I couldn't translate it in one word. Yeah, I lost marks because of that at my uni, but I couldn't translate it as one word. But it kind of means you're like a gentleman, but it's not. It's the idea of the man of the house or the woman of the house. It could be a Levendis or a Levendisa. It's someone who is mature and courageous and brave, and it is the essence that he wanted from his mom. There's a kind of missing, absent father figure that I kind of allude to at different points, with like him sneaking a watch that he takes on and off before he sees his mom, and the mom needing help around the house and not getting it. I think in his own way of trying to escape his duties and to escape the kind of family drama, in a sense, he goes fishing, and this is the moment where fishing proves that he can help out, in a sense. So in that moment where she embraces him, the radio was always meant to symbolize the next thing that he happens to look around the room and sees. Okay, there's another issue with this. There's a crackly radio, and it is my next goal, my next objective, to replace that radio. And so the next day he goes back to the beach with a newfound fulfillment and encouragement to continue on this path of using fishing to help his mom.
Oh my God, there's a sequel. I love it.
Yeah. It's so lovely. I liked it that there was, sorry, just to finish or answer or finish what you were saying. I thought that was wonderful to have that sort of slight ambiguity. I didn't, as an audience member, I didn't want it to be like spelt out. But it's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear like that translation and stuff. But yeah, I just thought it was such a beautiful scene with the two of them.
Thank you. It took a while to get him not like laughing and stuff every time, because the first few takes, he and his mom would hug and he'd be like, you know, okay. But it was amazing to film his mother, who it was the first excuse she had in like 2-3 years to just really hug him without him running away, in a sense. So her look we got almost on the first one. She hugged him and she held him so tight, and it was a fun experience to film as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, it's not so much a question, there's more what I take away from the film. I just love, I'm really glad Olivia brought up the scene with the fish and the older boys, because that and the mum scene, for me, these are the two big moments, right? And I love the fact that catching the fish is not really the coming of age part, really, for me, when you get down to it. It's when he does something incredibly mature and actually helps his mum at the end, and there's something incredibly kind and human about that. And like you say, it's just a beautiful film. So well done, Alex. Love it.
Thank you very much. Oh, what wonderful words. Wow, thank you. I never expected this film to get so far, by the way. But anyway, thank you very much.
Well, you've got a very, very bright future ahead. Sorry, Mike, did you want to ask anything? Otherwise, we will push on.
Actually, it was just a quick technical thing. So I thought it looked wonderful. Like you feel like you're almost voyeuristic at the ground level on this sort of day out. So number one, what did you shoot on? And number two, how did you find shooting in and around water? Because that's always a technical headache.
Okay, so I shot on the Sony A7S II, and I think we used a DJI Ronin for like one or two of the shots, but primarily we were using this very big and heavy Manfrotto tripod that we borrowed for someone to shoot on this beach, and a bunch of like cage things around the A7S, protecting it from any kind of like splashes and stuff like that. I think what wasn't the water as much as filming on the beach with the hot sun and the kind of jaggedy rocks, because it was kind of hard to find footing at times. We had to sit there with an umbrella over the monitor just to be able to see what was going on. Yeah, for a few shots, like when they're actually catching the fish, we did some slightly daredevilish shots from inside the water to just get it. We filmed everything. We said, okay, let's try and get this shot from this perspective. And if it works, it works. And I had a few people around me all kind of holding different things, making sure everything is safe. But generally very low equipment, except for the camera. I think everything else might have cost up to $1,000. Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine with the sun as it is in Cyprus, what challenges you must have had with the umbrella and the sun, because it's very difficult to see in the back of that camera sometimes. Yeah. But it looks fantastic. It's got such an aesthetic. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a stunning film. Thank you. And please keep us in touch. Keep in touch with us about any other projects that you have coming up. And yeah, really excited to see what's next for you. So from one fabulous seascape to another, the gorgeous seashore. I adore this film. And just, Splash was one of my favorite movies growing up. It's one of my ultimate favorites. And I just think it's so wonderful in the way that you don't give much away at all. You have to really be engaged and absorbed in the film, which we completely are, immersed in this world, and you're constantly leaving us hanging, and then the reveal is so beautiful. Where did the idea come from?
I'm also a fan of Splash, but I really like magic realism and always have, and I really like the contrast between sort of fantasy or imagination and the very kind of unglamorousness of the English seaside. I grew up quite near the sea, quite near to Whitstable and Broadstairs where we filmed it, and I just love the sort of shabby kind of broken down atmosphere of that seaside. I don't know if have I lost you sound wise. Can you hear me?
No, it's Alex.
great.
Alex fabulously muted because he had a lot of background going. Thank you for that, Alex.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry.
No, that's fabulous. Okay. That's great. It's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and I'm sort of interested in, portraying a relationship breaking down and the things that aren't said, and the way sort of deeper problems within a relationship can be manifested in the sort of small everyday bickering. So I guess it was kind of an exploration of both of those things, of the end of a relationship, or the sort of tension of a long distance relationship, with the sort of potential of magic realism, which I think is a sort of fun lens to explore very human things through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. How about for you, Mike? Where did this all begin?
So, Sue, well, we were talking about something else, I think.
Yeah, quite possibly.
I think we were looking at a few of your scripts and speaking about
maybe
general scripting because I write as well. And then you were like, I've got this thing and I think I want to make it. And so I had a short out in the sort of world called Sequins about a teenage drag queen in Blackpool. And that was doing the rounds. And and that was one extreme of short making. So that was like not a huge amount of money for the time we put in and, you know, needing outfits. And it had quite a big cast. It was stretched, but it was bigger than most shorts. So you're surrounded by decent sized crew and, you know, decent level of kit. And with Sue's sort of planting it in a real world that we can recognize, you know, a couple at odds with each other, I was like, it'd be really nice to do the polar opposite of that and go absolutely back to basics. Like back to basics filmmaking, where literally as a director, I also wanted to like be the cinematographer and have my hands on the actual camera rather than filtering instructions through someone else like a DOP. So we talked about that. And then, yeah, I think I love the script. The script was amazing. And we just sort of then, I think it was not a very long conversation. It was like, let's do it.
Yeah, we put together a very, very small team, wasn't it?
Very. So it's like a sound person, myself, Sue's other half almost acted like a camera assistant.
Yeah, exactly.
And Sue and Sydney. Oh, and also Amy, lovely Amy, who came to do the installation of the tail on the tail day.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, the tail is absolutely stunning. That I mean, so it's reasonably modest budget, but how did you go about? Was it crowdfunded or private finance?
It was very, very small budget, wasn't it? And Mike, you were working somewhere where you were able to borrow the equipment, if I'm right.
That's right. Yeah, I was working for a company called Knock Knock at the time, which is we give them a credit as a co-pro because to save us a bunch of money, they had some kit more on the sort of corporate documentary side. So they had an FS7, which is a great camera and mainly used for docs, but it's 4K and it's got built-in filters, shoulder rig, panhandle. So basically I nicked off with their kit for a weekend at no cost and used their edit bays as well when we were bolting it together.
Amazing. That is a total win. Because I was going to ask you how long it took you to shoot, because I think it is a short that so beautifully does exactly what you should do with a short, which is not try and do too much, but do what you do beautifully. And you know, it doesn't go too long. It just leaves us wanting more, and we're so with them all the way through. And so it took you a weekend, did it? And then the edit.
2 days split, I think. We did one day in the place where you were living, Sue, didn't we? The bathroom and the bedroom are there.
Yeah,
and
I
then
was really lucky. Sorry, I was really lucky at the time to live in this house share where there was this amazing bathroom. So yeah, that was another lucky saving, I guess.
It did have, like for a London bathroom, it was quite big and it had a freestanding tub. Like it's a filming dream, because you usually look to go do a bathroom scene in most London properties and go, well, the bath squeezed into the corner and there's about 3 foot of space and there's nowhere for a light and it's on the 8th floor, so we can't light from outside. So like it was perfect. And we did light from outside, I think, on tall sticks, didn't we?
I don't know if we did. I don't know. Maybe.
I think we were going to, and then we abandoned.
Compact.
No, we abandoned that plan. We brought the hazer in, and then decided to light from inside. Yeah, but we were looking at lighting from outside. It had loads of options, and I think the one expense. So Sue put in some of her own money for things we had to actually pay for, so keeping it small. And one of them was renting a hazer from Procam.
That's right.
So you can do that steamy bathroom without fogging everything up and causing technical nightmares.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that actually, because the whole piece has a really beautiful aesthetic to it that very much plays towards the drama side of it, so that we don't get that it's a comedy too soon. And it's very atmospheric. What was your thinking behind that, and behind the sort of the aesthetic of it, I guess, which is probably partly in the grade, partly around hazers and things like that, the technical side of things. What was your aim there?
So we spoke about the aesthetic quite at length, and I think splash came up more than once, and also making it recognizable as our world, but also a stylized version. So there are things that we didn't have control over, like people who are getting to the back of a shot, they're dressed normally, but you keep them soft in focus. And people are dressed normally. It's not like a Tim Burton vision of a mermaid world. It's not that, but there's little nods to those weirder bits of storytelling. Again, the bathroom had like a gothy vibe that we low lit it to really lean into that, because no person's bathroom looks like that when you switch the lights on. And the bedroom, we sort of a nice bit of haze and some off-kilter angles, like always never shooting a wide, or the camera's always slightly leaning, or just looking at it from a slightly skewed perspective. So just leaning into that a little bit. But actually having the limited budget and just doing it, that kind of mentality meant that we just went with what we had. So the locations were, that beach was great, big, wide, empty beach with loads of algae for the green, and and the cliffs behind. So just sort of went with it, but trying to figure out with what you've got without massive art department or bringing in incredible amounts of lighting, what you can do within that space.
Yeah, I mean, it's so effective. It's so captivating and so atmospheric from a visual point of view, and the script is just absolutely stunning. I love it. What is next for you? What's next for you?
That's a great question. Well, in terms of writing, I'm actually writing a musical for stage with my writing partner Lucy, who Olivia knows. And yeah, that's been a sort of recent collaboration, which happened because of a video that I made during lockdown. Not a beautifully finished short film, but more of a sort of throwaway comedy video. And this theatre saw that and approached me, and we started a collaboration. So that's really exciting. It's still kind of early days, but we've done the sort of research side of the script, and we've now started to write some songs, and it's all starting. That's kind of the next thing in the immediate future. How about you, Mike?
A fair bit. So doing some commercial content. So I was in Budapest shooting last week, and there'll be that in the edit. And then next for me is pitching a constructed reality show that I'm an exec and co-creator of, which is called Drag Me to the Countryside. And it's about a collective of the queer community that all move into a big house near Glastonbury and try and put on a pageant in the middle of nowhere. We shot a teaser in April, and we've just finished the teaser, and I was working on the pitch deck this morning, and I'll go back to that after this. And then myself and Sue have a project we're putting into Channel 4. We're just tweaking the deck again. Well, I am tweaking the deck again. So and that's sort of a natural, best way of putting that, it sort of links back to Seashore a little bit, doesn't it? So
yeah, exactly. I feel like with Seashore there was so much backstory that obviously doesn't come into it, or doesn't sort of get revealed. But so it just felt like there was more to explore and more kind of life potentially for future projects.
Some of my best lockdown phone calls have been with Sue discussing the rules of a mermaid world. So
I'm actually, this leads me on perfectly, because I was going to ask you a little bit more about that. Because I noticed there's this, I mean, well done on the script. Script is so focused and economical, and it tells you so much, though. It just tells you it's such a rich world. And I picked up on a few lines in there that were just kind of expanding that, but didn't expand it. But it left you just wanting to know so much more. I want to know, this is a very silly question, by the way, what does Jack do? Because he's got 3 other mermaids, potentially, mermaid partners in the office with him.
Jack has, did you say?
Yeah, because it's like, I think I'm right in that. That's the way I've interpreted it.
Interesting. So Jack is fully human, and just, this is his first encounter with a mermaid and his first relationship with one. But I imagine him being working for a very regimented grounded job. I think he's like a civil servant, perhaps specializing in ecology or the environment. And I think that's where they have a meeting of minds, is their passion for the environment and their want for humans to stop polluting the sea and destroying the natural world. But yeah, that's from my point of view, that's who Jack is.
Wow, you really have thought about all this.
Yeah.
I would say, sorry, I don't know Ip all the time, but I'd say Ari's more freewheeling in a load of ways than Jack in terms of how she goes about. Like, what was the line? I'm only going to share one line from the pitch treatment for the wider world, Sue, but it's that one about describing her ex-boyfriend. So it's Jack as an insecure human, and when he finally sees her last merman boyfriend, I think we described him as Jason Momoa's better-looking brother.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness, I want to see the whole feature of this. I'm so excited that you have more in the pipeline vaguely connected with this, because I just love it. I think it's a cracking project, and I think there's so much more to be developed out of it. Alex, did you have any questions for Sue or Mike?
I have to say I really loved it as well. I think I was so focused on the kind of relationship between the two, and I had so many questions popping up that the second she went into the sea, everything kind of clicked in a very nice way, and I think it was a perfect balance, because as well, something that I noticed a lot, and something that I think is very hard to do as well in these short films, is this almost montage of their conversation. And as Andy said, the script was incredibly economical, and each line was very good and very expressive, and it all contributed to the right mood as well, that kind of led up to this almost revealing ending. I'm sure you could have seen it beforehand, but it took me by surprise a bit, and it took me a while to understand it as well, and to almost think back to the lines that were said and to recontextualize them in such a way. But I think, especially with the FS7, I think it had gorgeous visuals. I really love a lot of. I love the aesthetic of the FS7. So I think the way it started, and I think the mood that was being built between the characters was exceptional. I think the beginning montage, in a sense, I'll call it a montage, not exactly, but how was that to do? Because that seems like something that you would potentially have so much information and have to make many hard decisions to show, like, all right, what 4 or 5 scenes, for example, are we going to show, and what exactly is going to be in it to keep it so tight?
Well, thank you so much. That's really lovely feedback. Yeah, I don't know, in terms of the decision making of what to include. I think once the characters were sort of built or established in my mind, it wasn't too difficult to make those decisions. But yeah, I don't know, Mike. Could you speak to that a bit?
No, I mean, I don't think, in terms of the economies of the telling that story, I think it was all in the script. So actually, it was a really economical and beautifully crafted script. So just by shooting that, there wasn't like anything to lose in the edit. It literally is an edit built around exactly what Sue wrote. So yeah, it's not, because I have done short films where, you know, you've ended up shooting 20 minutes from 15 pages and you know you've got to lose scenes or nip and tuck, and you go, oh, now I'm seeing it, I don't really need that line. No, nothing. Everything that was on the page got shot, and then everything that was on the page got put in the edit. But that's also the limited sort of time budget thing. You shoot flat out for 2 days to get exactly the script, and then so it's a hats off to Sue. Really, it didn't happen later in the process.
Oh,
definitely a testament to a good script, and as well a good script and director kind of relationship. I think there was I think everything was fully realized, and I props to that.
It's fun directing the writer as well.
Yeah.
What were the challenges there? There must have been some challenges there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like,
Did you?
I don't know how you feel about improving this next line, but because the writer has made a real mess of it. What do you think?
Yeah, no, it felt like quite an easygoing dynamic, didn't it? It felt
Yeah.
like and I think maybe because I have done quite, years and years of improvisation outside of all this, it means that I'm not very precious. So if there had been, if Mike had turned around and said, actually, could we try something different or write something different, I probably would have been like, yeah, sure.
That's
it. I think that's the beauty of improvising, is that it makes you quite happy to let go of things. But yeah, no, it was luckily for all of us, it was a really fun process, and yeah, really nice.
Yeah, was.
And speaking of good scripts, congrats on the nomination. It's exciting, very exciting, very well deserved.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's just like lovely to be involved at all, and then an extra loveliness. So yeah, thank you so much. It's really exciting.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing. Thank you all for sharing your fabulous films with us. Unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap things up, but I wish we could chat more. Finally, of course, we had the amazing Mermaid, which is just so brave, so powerful, so harrowing, very thought-provoking. But I think what I love about so many of these films, in that actually there's a similar ending, really, in the mood of Seashore and of Mermaid, in that there is an optimism. They're both tinged with this lovely optimism that actually things might be better, and that, and if we take mermaids as a metaphor for anyone just feeling like they're different, feeling like they're slightly out of their own skin, and I think all of these films show how the ocean provides such a space for hope and reflection. And I'm off to the beach right now, so yeah, thank you very, very much for joining us. We have our next one starting at 1:30, so you've got just over an hour's time before you tune back in for something a little different, which is War is Hell. War is Hell will be running at 1:30, so join us for that one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you very much all our fabulous panel for joining us for Q&A, and see you again.